The Battle of Leyte Gulf was a titanic clash that reshaped the course of the Pacific War, rife with dramatic moments, acts of extraordinary courage, and strategic blunders. Spanning 4 days, it was fought in a theater so vast that its engagement spread across seas, islands, and skies. This narrative is proudly brought to you by Polly Speaks For You. At Polly Speaks For You, we are committed to empowering individuals, especially those with disabilities or learning challenges, through innovative text-to-speech and voice recognition technology. Polly Speaks For You is more than just software. It's a tool for self-expression, connecting people with the world in meaningful ways. By blending the richness of history with cutting-edge technology, Polly Speaks For You demonstrates that every voice, whether preserving the past or shaping the future, has the potential to inspire. While we strive to make the story engaging, our primary focus is on storytelling itself. The visuals are secondary. We're showcasing the remarkable capabilities of text-to-speech software that bring these stories to life. The lead-up, the struggle for the Philippines. By mid-1944, the tide of war had turned decisively against Japan. U.S. forces had island-hopped across the Pacific, and now the Philippines, once occupied by Japan, was a crucial target. Recapturing the islands would sever Japan's vital supply lines from Southeast Asia, particularly its access to oil. In preparation for the invasion, the U.S. Navy had grown to an unprecedented size, including modern battleships, aircraft carriers, destroyers, and submarines. The Japanese, however, were prepared to gamble everything in a desperate bid to crush the American fleet. October 1944, a diary entry from an American sailor. October 20th, 1944. We've been briefed that MacArthur is finally returning to the Philippines. The air here smells of salt and diesel fuel. The men are tense. Some joke trying to lighten the mood, but we all know this is it. Tomorrow we invade Leyte. It feels like the end is near, but no one is foolish enough to think Japan will go down without a fight. The Japanese plan, Operation Shogo. The Japanese devised a complex plan to lure the U.S. forces into a trap. Called Operation Shogo, it involved 4 separate fleets converging on Leyte Gulf. The centerpiece was a decoy fleet under Admiral Gisaburo Ozawa, consisting mostly of aircraft carriers that no longer had sufficient planes or pilots. Their job was to lure the powerful U.S. Third Fleet, under Admiral William Halsey, away from Leyte. Meanwhile, the Japanese center force, under Admiral Takeo Kurita, composed of the most powerful remaining battleships, including the super battleship Yamato, would sneak through the Philippines' central waters and attack the vulnerable American landing forces. Kurita's force included over 30 ships, an armada designed to strike terror into the heart of any opposing navy. However, the plan required impeccable timing and communication between all the different fleets, something that would soon unravel. October 23, 1944, the battle begins. Early on October 23rd, American submarines USS Darter and USS Dace detected Kurita's force near the island of Palawan. In a daring underwater strike, they sank 2 heavy cruisers, including Kurita's flagship, forcing him to transfer to another vessel. October 23, 1944, we were sure that Halsey's carriers were enough to take care of any surface ships the Japanese threw at us. But the news came that the enemy fleet is closer than we thought. The boys on the submarines saved our necks today. Word is they hit 2 Japanese cruisers, but this fight is far from over. Kurita's center force, although damaged, pushed on. The American carrier planes from Admiral Thomas Kinkaid's 7th Fleet and Halsey's 3rd Fleet launched repeated air assaults, including during the Battle of the Sea Beyond Sea. The mighty Yamato came under constant bombardment, but survived, despite losing much of its escort. October 24th to 25th, the Battle of Surigao Strait. As Kurita advanced toward Leyte, another Japanese force, Southern Force, led by Admiral Shoji Nishimura, attempted to sneak through the Surigao Strait to attack the American landing forces. However, the Americans, under Admiral Jesse Oldendorf, were waiting. In the last battleship-to-battleship action in history, Oldendorf crossed the T, a classic naval maneuver where his ships could fire all their guns, while the Japanese were forced into a narrow column. Nishimura's force was decimated, and only a few ships escaped. October 25th, 1944. It's been a long night. The guns of the battleships pounded the enemy, lighting up the night sky. I could see the Japanese ships on fire. It felt like a punishment from the gods. The whole sea seemed to burn. It was something out of Dante's hell. The battle off Samar, a desperate struggle. As Kurita's battered center force neared Leyte Gulf, it stumbled upon the tiny task unit April 3rd, 77, nicknamed Taffy 3. Composed of escort carriers and destroyers, ships that were no match for Kurita's battleships, the Americans found themselves in an unimaginable situation, facing the largest warships in the world with only small, lightly armed vessels. In one of the most extraordinary actions of the war, the American destroyers USS Johnston, USS Hull, and USS Samuel B. Roberts charged at Kurita's fleet. Despite being outgunned and outclassed, they engaged the Japanese warships with torpedoes and 5-inch guns, buying precious time for the escort carriers to launch their planes. Captain Ernest Evans of the USS Johnston led his ship in what was essentially a suicide mission. His destroyer was eventually sunk, but not before inflicting significant damage on the Japanese. From the diary of a Japanese officer on the Yamato, we had thought we would face mighty American battleships. Instead, tiny destroyers came at us like wasps, attacking fearlessly. They were nothing, and yet they fought like gods. Halsey's pursuit of Ozawa. Meanwhile, Admiral Halsey, convinced that the decoy carrier force was the main threat, pursued Admiral Ozawa's northern fleet. Halsey had taken the bait, leaving Leyte virtually undefended. When word reached Halsey that Kurita's center force was attacking Taffy 3, he realized his mistake. In a frantic race, Halsey turned his battleships and carriers southward, but it was too late to engage Kurita effectively. However, Kurita, perhaps confused by the ferocity of the American resistance or overestimating the strength of the escort carriers, chose to withdraw, sparing Taffy 3 from total annihilation. October 26, 1944. We hear that Halsey got the decoy, but not before those boys off Samar took a beating. God, those destroyers gave everything they had. It's strange how things turn out. Sometimes the smallest things make the biggest difference. Aftermath and legacy. The Battle of Leyte Gulf was a decisive victory for the Allies, and the Japanese Navy was irreparably crippled. They lost 3 battleships for carriers, 10 cruisers, and 11 destroyers. The Yamato, though still afloat, would not engage in another battle until its final, doomed mission in 1945. The courage of the men aboard Taffy 3 became legendary. Despite overwhelming odds, they saved the invasion force at Leyte and contributed to the ultimate liberation of the Philippines. October 27, 1944, the battle is over. We hear that Kurita turned back. Maybe the gods of war were on our side after all. I'm still thinking about those destroyer boys. Heroes, every one of them. The Battle of Leyte Gulf stands not only as the largest naval battle in history, but also as a testament to the bravery and resilience of those who fought in the face of insurmountable odds. It marked the twilight of the Imperial Japanese Navy and the dawn of a new era of American naval dominance. If you're enjoying this story, please remember to hit like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue creating content that educates and empowers. To learn more about South Africa's leading accessibility software and to support our dyslexic-friendly initiative, visit www.polispeaks4u.co.za. Thank you for watching.